And Fitz-Gerald is the director of the Balsillie School of International Affairs. She joins me now live from Toronto in Canada. And what signal, whether intentional or not, is this sending by the Ethiopian authorities detaining UN staff members?
Well, it has to do, as your reporter said, with the state of emergency that's been declared. It's very unfortunate that the optics of all of this risk the issue of profiling to be communicated. But at the end of the day, this is a war that has been drawn along ethnic lines. And what prompted the state of emergency was what was reported to be some surprise attacks that took the Ethiopian National Defense Forces from behind, from the rear, as they pushed TPLF fighters out of Dessie. So these surprise attacks were again reportedly launched by people, Tigrayans, who had lived in Dessie for 30 to 40 years. And of course, Dessie is in the Amhara region. So this state of emergency was to encourage people across the country to be vigilant in the face of those potentially collaborating with TPLF fighters.
So is there opportunity for diplomacy now, or do you think that's gone out the window?
Well, I think the first thing that needs to happen is a direct call to the TPLF fighters to cease fire, to lay down their arms. To do this, I think the international actors, particularly the United States, needs to send a meaningful message. So it's remarkable in some ways that the threat of sanctions continue to come to the door of the Ethiopian national government, a legitimate, democratically elected federal government, and none towards the group that perpetrated the conflict in the first place. Look, both sides need to be incentivized to come to any sort of peaceful resolution from this crisis. The only incentive that will lead to the TPLF doing something to hopefully support peace is the threat of sanctions, the threat of seizing foreign assets, foreign bank accounts, many different measures, some measures similar to those that have been lodged towards the Ethiopian government. The only thing that will incentivize the Ethiopian government to stop fighting and to come down from their defensive posture is a cessation to these incursions into the neighboring regions, and also beyond the neighboring regions, in other regions across the country, those who are collaborating with the insurgents. So there needs to be incentives on both sides.
And what tools might be available for the UN to try to negotiate the release of the detained staff members?
We haven't heard any reason given from the government yet. I suspect that these are similar to arrests that have been made on other individuals and groups that are suspected to have been collaborating with TPLF fighters. And I should add that there are non-Tigrayan individuals in that group reportedly as well. But I think the only thing to find the answers on these issues is for the UN to launch an investigation, for the Ethiopian government to respond to UN questions as to why these individuals are detained. I suspect that it probably has to do with the national laws of the land, and the details of those laws should be communicated.
All right, we'll leave it there. Anne Fitz-Gerald joining us from Toronto. Thank you.